Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jensen with CCJ 3701 Research Methods in Criminology. So I want to do a quick video, even though I talk about this in a few other places. It's just helpful to kind of get a quick cheat sheet on it. So as we're moving toward running our analyses for our variables, you're going to need to know which regression to run. So how do I know which regression I'm going to run for my topic? You will also run some bivariate techniques, but we're going to do that in another week. So I just want to make sure you are thinking about this kind of going forward. There's no action really to take on your behalf quite yet, but you need to know which is which. So it all comes down to your dependent variable, your outcome variable, the what happens variable. If your dependent variable is nominal, it's a categorical variable, you will run binary logistic regression. Okay, that's the one we did in Lab 8, where we were talking about getting arrested, your chances of something happening. Be sure your variable is coded into two categories, a 0 versus a 1. Okay, so you will definitely need to make sure your dependent variable is organized like that. If your dependent variable is interval or ratio, meaning it's numerical, it's a score or quantity, then you're going to run an OLS or linear regression, okay? Because you're actually going to get numbers that kind of correspond to whatever that quantity is, and it might be in years, or dollars, or points on a scale, or income, or what have you, however that variable is measured. The last one I want to spend a little bit of time on, because a few of you have this in the class, and it's a little tricky. If your dependent variable, or your outcome variable, is ordinal, right? Meaning it's a ranked category, indicating to what degree something occurs, how much, how often, but it's not quantifiable. So you'll find it with those strongly agree style questions. Maybe how often you're doing something, weekly, monthly, daily, but you can't put it in a quantity because it's just kind of a category of often-ness, but you know there's more and less of it. Those kinds of variables, you can run either an OLS linear regression, or you can run a binary logistic regression. So you go, okay, so I could run either. Well, how do I decide? How do you decide? So these are only for the ordinal dependent variable people. So if you're nominal, definitely binary logistic. If you're interval, definitely linear. So only if you have an ordinal style dependent variable would you make a decision. So you're going to hear a lot of statisticians say stuff like this. They'll say, hey, you can't put ordinals in linear regression. That violates an assumption. Well, in social science, we do it all the time, where we kind of treat those numbers inside an ordinal variable like they represent some kind of quantity or some kind of score. So it actually does work if you kind of relax that translation a little bit. You can still do it. We don't do it very often, but you can, okay? Most of the time people recode it and kind of shift those categories around into something else. But essentially how you decide if you have an ordinal dependent variable, if you want to do linear or logistic, you're going to go, okay, do you want your result as a likelihood of something occurring? If you do, then run a binary logistic regression. And again, be sure that variable is coded into two categories, just a 0 versus a 1. Okay? If you want your result as a quantity of something increasing or decreasing, then you're going to run OLS or linear regression. Okay? So treat the ordinal categories as intervals and changes in something, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, however you want to do it. The more intervals or the more categories, the better. So what you would need to consider before you make that decision is your time, how you want your answer, your skill level, how comfortable you are interpreting results from each regression. And I've literally had students do this. Well, I don't really care how I get my answer, but I'm just better at linear regression, or I'm just better at logistic, and so I feel like that's easier for me to write about. I said, then do that one. Be practical. Do the one you're better at, the one that you found easier. That might just be the practical thing to do for this paper, so that way you're not struggling with the interpretation on what the little coefficients mean in the case of an interval variable, or a linear regression, I should say, or what the little odds ratios or exponential b's mean in terms of nominal variables or a logistic regression. So you just got to go through that material again and kind of see which one you want to do. But again, only for those people with ordinal ones. Everybody else, you're definitely this or definitely that. Okay? So hopefully you found this helpful. And again, reach out if you have questions. And if you really don't know which one to run, just ask. We can talk through it, and that way you won't make a mistake by running the wrong thing. So good luck, and we'll see you later.